Welcome back to another Explainer, Focus Learners. Today, we're unpacking a tension that, let's be real, we all deal with on a daily basis, but we rarely stop to actually analyze. We're taking a hard look at that daily mask we wear, and we're asking the big question. Is your professional persona just a completely fake identity, or is it actually a brilliantly designed survival mechanism?
Come on, be honest with me for a second. You probably think that your customer service voice at work is completely fake, right? Or think about that very polite, carefully measured tone you use with certain extended family members, or maybe that one specific coworker down the hall. We all do it. And the funny thing is, most of us carry around a little bit of guilt about it. We just assume it's us being inauthentic. But when you really dig into the research, that voice might actually be the most vital survival mechanism you own.
So let's get into Section 1, the myth of fakeness, and how we're flipping the script on authenticity.
We hear this all the time, don't we? Society tells us that being authentic means you have to be completely unfiltered 100% of the time. The narrative is basically that if you aren't laying every single one of your cards on the table, you're somehow lying to the world. But here's the reality. Navigating the professional world absolutely demands a functional split. Your measured tone? It isn't a lie at all. Sociologically speaking, it's an evolutionary adaptation for modern society. To actually survive and thrive in these highly complex social and institutional structures, you simply cannot be a raw, unfiltered nerve ending all the time. You have to have a structured way to interact with the world around you.
Okay, let's dive into this a bit deeper in Section 2, ego versus professional persona. This is really about the clash of our internal and external worlds.
To really unpack what this necessary split from our true core self looks like, just take a look at the stark contrast on this slide. On the left side, you've got your inner ego. This is the real, vulnerable you. It's built entirely on internal feelings, raw emotions, and your own personal vulnerabilities. Now look over at the right side, your professional persona. This professional pillar isn't built on feelings whatsoever. It is built on rigid external frameworks. We're talking about your expertise, institutional laws, ethical codes, and the agreed-upon rules of whatever game you're playing. Guys, these are literally two completely different operating systems.
So why does this matter? Well, the absolutely crucial point here is that unfiltered emotion breaks the system. I mean, just imagine for a second if you brought all of your raw, unfiltered ego, every single one of your insecurities and all your personal emotional baggage into a corporate boardroom during a massive high-stakes negotiation. Or worse, into a hospital ward when a patient needs objective, immediate care. The entire institutional system simply breaks down. It just cannot function under the crushing weight of everyone's unfiltered ego. You absolutely have to have a buffer.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, your psychological suspension system. This is the perfect metaphor for navigating uneven terrain.
I am so excited to share this mental model with you because it is brilliant for visualizing this emotional buffer. I want you to picture a car in your head. Now think of your core, true self, that inner ego we just talked about, as the car's engine. It's the powerhouse. It's the thing that makes you, well, you. Now think of your professional persona as the car's suspension system.
Just look at this quote. It absorbs the shock of uneven social terrain so the engine doesn't just rattle itself to pieces when you hit a pothole. Think about how perfectly that illustrates the dynamic at play here. The suspension system doesn't change the engine at all, does it? No, it protects it. By adopting certain mannerisms, leaning on industry jargon, or just maintaining some emotional detachment, you are actively protecting your incredibly fragile ego from the harsh, uneven friction of daily institutional life.
In practical terms, this sociological adaptation works through a few main actions. You adopt specific job mannerisms, you utilize the required jargon of your field, you apply necessary emotional detachment, and you execute your duties objectively. By doing all of this, you aren't losing yourself, you're just absorbing the terrain. You're letting the suspension system do all the heavy lifting so you can actually execute your institutional duties while making absolutely sure your core identity stays completely intact and safe underneath the hood.
All right, moving on to Section 4, mastering strategic empathy, or as I like to call it, taking the suspension system to Thanksgiving dinner.
So we've clearly established why this makes total sense for a boardroom. But the fascinating reality is that this professional persona naturally bleeds into our personal lives too, like when we're dealing with difficult extended family members. Now, with your absolute innermost circle, sure, you rely purely on the personal sphere. But with that one highly critical uncle at Thanksgiving, defaulting to raw, vulnerable honesty can actually be emotionally dangerous. If you give extended acquaintances your completely unfiltered ego, you're practically handing them ammunition to use against you. It invites totally unnecessary drama, pushes the interaction into emotionally unsafe territory, and literally opens you up to weaponized vulnerability.
But obviously, if you apply your sterile, completely detached office voice to your family members, it sounds like you're managing them like a bunch of employees. And that feels terrible for everyone. The solution here is a concept called strategic empathy. It's defined as managing interpersonal distance by validating others' feelings while intentionally withholding your own personal emotional reactions. This is the exact method for using your professional suspension system outside the office, keeping the peace without sounding like some cold, managing robot.
So what does this actually look like in your day-to-day life? Here is your step-by-step playbook. Step 1. Actively listen and validate their feelings. That's the empathy part. You are genuinely hearing them out. Step 2. Withhold personal oversharing. You put up your professional guardrails, and you keep your own deep emotional reactions completely to yourself. And Step 3. Remain cordial and purpose-driven. By staying grounded, you prevent the relationship from becoming inappropriately intimate or unmanaged. You can be entirely empathetic to an acquaintance's complaints without actually inviting them into your inner psychological house. Which brings us to a massive, absolutely crucial realization. Boundaries and authenticity are not mutually exclusive. Actually, scratch that. They literally rely on each other. And this completely reframes the whole idea of the mask for us. It isn't deception at all. It is a deeply authentic, incredibly necessary tool that allows you to interact safely and effectively with the broader world.
And finally, let's take a look at Section 5, Entering Sphere 0, the ultimate friction.
As powerful and protective as this suspension system is, relying on an integrated persona constantly does leave us with a profound, lingering tension regarding our true selves. Because think about it, if we are constantly keeping the world at a safe distance, we're eventually forced to ask, when is the terrain smooth enough to completely remove the mask? How do we recognize the exact moment and the exact people where we can finally turn off the suspension and just let the engine run totally bare? That right there is the ultimate friction between our social personas and our deepest private layers.
And that provocative thought is exactly what I want you to mull over until our next explainer. Because next time, we are stepping out of the professional gear entirely. We are taking the mask off and stepping into Sphere 0, the absolute private sphere. It is going to be an incredible deep dive into our most unguarded selves, and you definitely won't want to miss it. Until then, keep learning, keep analyzing, and I'll catch you in the next one.